Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Boxing Unwrapped. It's Boxing Unwrapped, causing more problems than Gerald Miller's urinalysis test.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ryan.
I had a funny feeling the introduction bit was going to make reference to Jarrell Miller's urine.
Oh, man, I think there's going to be a lot of references to Jarrell Miller's urine during this podcast. But welcome to What the F is the Boxing News, our rundown of everything that's happened in boxing that you need to know and the shit that you need to know that's happening on the horizon. So, Andy, do you want to tell the good people what we've got in store?
I do. So we're going to run over what the F were the results from last weekend, and there was a fair bit to cover, and we'll give our highly opinionated and uneducated information regarding that. We will, of course, look over the rather extensive crop of fights coming up this weekend. We'll have a fairly substantial section on what the F went wrong last week.
Ooh.
More random news than you can shake a drugs cocktail at. We'll finish up with what grinds our gears and, of course, some listener corner.
Right. Well, let's dive right into what the F are the results from last week.
Do you want to start where we have to start?
I think
where do we have to start?
I think we've got to start on the biggest talking point of the week, which was Khan versus Crawford. Pay-per-view, BT Sport. It was kind of almost more disappointing than I thought it was gonna be. Like I would have been more excited seeing like Khan get like knocked out in the first round rather than even throwing like any punches, and that almost did happen.
He looked super awkward when he got knocked down in the first round. I thought by then we'd maybe see him, like, do you remember when he tries to like lift his head off the canvas against Canelo? Mm-hmm. I thought it would maybe end up like that. I think that's the way it would have gone had the fight not ended, shall we say. How would you describe how the fight ended, Ryan, just out of interest?
I would describe it as it went out with a whimper rather than a bang.
Yeah.
So Terence Crawford went to hit Khan with a body shot. Mm-hmm. And struck him quite hard in the upper thigh, which led to Khan saying it was a low blow, and then using that as an excuse for no mas.
No mas, yeah.
No mas.
I think that was nicely summarised. I think most people are saying that he quit. And I guess there's a few things to like help reach that analysis. One is that he didn't take his 5 minutes, which it seemed to be like, does he know he can take 5 minutes? Does he not know? Mm-hmm. Or his trainer told him to quit. There was a whole lot of hoo-ha, but I think basically he knew he was in for a beating. It was clear at that point that he didn't really have a chance. It was clear from the start he didn't have a chance, and then to get knocked down in the first round probably didn't encourage him very much. But I was surprised he lasted 6, to be honest. You called it in 6. You didn't call it by like a deflected low blow off, glancing off his cup. You didn't call it quite that specifically.
No, and like, you know, there like the corner was asking him like, "Do you want to continue? Do you want to continue?" And I think they were wanting to pull him out because he was totally outgunned, like, and they didn't want to see him get hurt. I think that if he came out and said, you know, like, actually, you know, I was hurt by the low blow, but I didn't want to continue because Terence Crawford is a fantastic fighter, and you know, I really just don't think that staying in the ring with him would have been better for me. Mm-hmm. I think I'd have a lot more respect than his like, oh, I'd rather get knocked out, blah, 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 I'd rather get knocked out. Bullshit. Oh, it was a low blow. although, like, in the post fight press conference, I have to hand it to Terence Crawford for being a hell of a gentleman. Mm-hmm. So he did say, like, just admit that you quit. And then someone from the crowd was like, oh, I've got a picture of it. It wasn't a low blow. It wasn't a low blow, blah, blah, blah. And, like, Terence Crawford at one point actually said, hold on, like, he was the guy that felt the punch. So, you know, you have to, like, at least give him that. Which I thought was surprisingly gentlemanly, actually, rather than kind of...
And I think most people thought it... I mean, most sort of people are not, like, denying the fact that it was a low blow. They're saying it was accidental, but it was a low blow. I mean, it was well below his... You know, it was on his leg, his thigh, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I imagine that's going to fucking hurt, right? That is going to hurt.
It is going to hurt, but it's about... What I don't understand is if you've got every intention of carrying on, even if you're thinking, well, I can't work like this, take the 5 minutes and then see how you feel after 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you still feel terrible, like, and you don't even want to try 30 seconds, then fine. But, like, it seems odd to not take any rest period because there's no penalty for doing so. It's just giving you recovery time. So, like, why not take that? It was like there was all this confusion about whether or not he was able to take it, and then he sort of blamed his trainer Hunter, didn't he? He sort of said, oh, well, he kind of told me to quit, or he quit on my behalf, and it was all this, like... Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you're never going to say it, but if you just said, you know what, I was getting schooled, and I was getting beat, and I was going to end up getting real beat, and I wanted to save myself so I could smash Kell Brook's face in. I think if you'd done that, like, people would probably have been like, fair enough, and it would have built that fight. You could have done it like that. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, whereas I think he's going to struggle now to get the Kell Brook fight to be as big as it could have been, I think. I mean, it'll still be a big fight, but, like, I think that showed the age and level of Amir Khan now, because he lost his speed. He always goes on about his speed. He didn't have any speed whatsoever. He had no poise, no balance. But I saw an amazing clip from Ben Davidson, and he was analyzing Amir Khan's fights beforehand, and he kind of said, like, oh, well, you see the way that he moves his back foot, and it actually means that he's always leaning forward more, and he puts his chin out, and it leaves him off balance, and that's why he gets caught with these overhand rights. He's like, that combination with that and his, like, low left hand just, like, leaves him open to getting knocked out all the time. And this is, like, flaws that guy has seen by watching a few videotapes of Amir Khan. Why is his trainers not trying to fix this, like, fundamental flaw that the guy has?
Maybe it's like he's untrainable or something, but yeah. But in the past, he would, like, his footwork, maybe it's like a leg strength thing or a reflex thing, but his legs were strong, or he would be able to kind of go in and out with his punches. Whereas, like, in this fight, he was, like, going in and just, like, and then falling in. He was falling in all the time, and it's like, it looks so ungainly, and he just like so off balance, as if the strength in his legs wasn't there. I don't know. He looks kind of shot, I think. But I mean, I still think he can be like, oh, well, look, you know, I couldn't carry on. It's not like I got knocked out or anything. And, like, by the way, Brook, I'm going to knock you out. You're rubbish. You're no Terence Crawford. So I think that'll have to be the narrative for that fight.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, as in more about it being a grudge rather than it being about the level of the fighters, because even casual fans are going to go, well, like, everyone knows Khan was getting, like, soundly beaten in that fight. So so you talk up Crawford, and then you talk up the Brook one as a grudge match, and he does that. So maybe it'll happen. I'm not totally convinced it'll happen. Maybe but Khan's delusional enough to maybe not realise how shot he is. Although Brook's not done much for a while. But anyway, it was a bit disappointing. Roy Jones Jr. was a bit scathing of Khan.
Yeah.
He was like, he fucking quit. He used to come out and say, "Quit, bitch." It's basically what he said. He's very upset about Khan quitting.
I know. It was, but I think it is what it is. But I do feel that, like, the kind of British media have been a bit too easy on him. You know, like, I think the fundamental thing is he had absolutely no right to be in the ring with Terence Crawford, I actually don't think it did Terence Crawford any good. because
it did his bank balance quite good, probably, right?
Yeah, probably. But like, you know, he needs to be getting himself, you know, proper serious fights to show how fucking good he is. Like, you know.
Well, we can talk about this a bit later, but I totally agree with you. But herein lies the problem. You've got Porter gonna fight Spence in whenever it is, like September. You've got Thurman gonna fight Pacquiao. So in terms of like the next best opponent, I guess would be Danny Garcia.
Yeah.
Who also fought at the weekend, but you've got him, and that's probably about as good as Garcia's a really good fighter, and I think that's his next best. Because, probably he's I don't know what Thurman and Pacquiao and whatever, but they're like obviously the mega money fights. But if Spence and Porter are fighting, then he's a bit shy of like mega fights, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, unless he kind of does a tick over to then fight the winner of that for the lineal crown. You know?
True that. Yeah.
True that. Now, can we chat a little bit about my boy?
Yeah, let's chat about your boy.
My boy Teofimo Lopez.
I'm gonna say it, like you carry on. We'll talk about how he's a big boy. Your big boy Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah. But I mean, he looks absolutely unstoppable in the ring. I mean, the body shot against that guy Tatley was. I mean, you watched it and you felt it, right? It was fucking unbelievable, and he just looks like a serious contender. Like, I think he can do it, and you know, there is probably the ability for him to move up in weight class as well.
Oh, 100%. So apparently, and I don't know, again, this is like, I don't know if this is a fact or if this is some like sort of speculation put in as a fact, but I read something that the day before the weigh-in, he still had 7 pounds to lose.
That's insane.
Which seems like a lot. And apparently, and rumours are that he was into the 150s for the fight versus the lightweight limit of 135. So he put on, you're speaking like 16, 17, 18 pounds above the weight limit for the actual fight. And he looked he looks like he could go up a weight division or two, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. I think he's got it in him, actually.
Definitely.
I think he definitely could do, like, you know.
He's serious. He's dead. He's going to be serious for someone.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, the junior welterweight division is heating up pretty heavy, but I think he could probably, like, if he continues to be as good as he is, I think he could definitely like compete in that division.
Well, do you know who? Well, I'll come on to it a bit more later. But there is some interesting stuff going on in the lightweight division as well. But should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
So I mentioned him as a prospective opponent because he's kind of like best of the rest of the best potential available one for Crawford, Danny Garcia. So he fought and stopped Adrian Granados in California. It stopped him in the 7th. I think the previously unstopped Granados, and Garcia looked like a back to his brutal best. He looked really causing him all sorts of problems, looked really powerful, really impressive. So he's back in the mix, obviously, after his controversial defeat to Porter. I thought he won that fight versus Porter, which I've said before.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Once or twice. Someone else will probably talk a little bit more later in the episode. Andy Ruiz Jr. dominated and stopped a lethargic and frankly disinterested looking Alexander Dimitrenko on the undercard to that fight.
I think he just turned up for the payday, Dimitrenko. Didn't look like he wanted it.
I think his days in the professional game are numbered. Ruiz Jr. What a physique that man has. He's from the Nathan Gorman School of Conditioning, isn't he?
Yeah, totally. I know. I just don't understand how like athletes can look like that.
I don't understand it either. I mean, imagine there was a guy playing tennis and he came out looking.
I mean, well, if we're talking about the battle of the physiques, then we have to maybe move on to Dave Allen versus Lucas Browne.
Flawless segue.
Oh, I mean, actually, good on Dave Allen. 3rd round stoppage against Lucas Browne. I think Lucas Browne definitely showed his age. I mean, he's 40. He couldn't compete. He came out and like in the first round, I thought actually Lucas Browne is gonna. He's a much bigger man. He's going to give Dave Allen some problems. And then Dave Allen just knocked him out with this beautiful combination. Body shot. It was like he broke his nose and then he hit Lucas Browne with an unbelievable body shot.
It was perfect, was it? It was a perfect body shot. But do you think if Dave Allen, because he's going to fight, there's talk about him fighting... Did we not talk about this months ago? The Battle of the Daves.
Yeah, David Price versus Dave Allen.
So a lot of chat about that now. But Browne looked in the first couple of rounds like he had quite good boxing skills in comparison. Allen was just kind of like there to hit at will. He looks like he ships quite a lot of punishment. I know, obviously, he won with a devastating knockout, really good. But Allen looks very easy to hit.
Yeah.
And he looks a bit kind of unsophisticated. So anyway,
the only thing is, I want to do a call out to the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board, because I believe if we look at some of the heavyweights in the top 10, I definitely believe Dave Allen's got a chance to be in there. Actually, to be honest, if Adam Kalnaki's in there. I think Dave Allen. I'm calling for Dave Allen to be in the top 10. Just out of
you're on your own, pal. I'm not on board.
Talking about shit heavyweights, let's talk about the Derek Chisora Senad Gashi fight.
Do you remember when we went to Manchester? Do you remember what happened when Krola fought to you specifically?
I fell asleep. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what happened to me in a more kind of low-key, lying in my bed watching it kind of way when Chisora and Gashi got going.
Oh, it was so bad, man. I had a lot of hopes. I would actually say, though, Derek Chisora boxed in a completely different way this time. He actually kept his man at a distance. He threw fights. He didn't get frustrated that he didn't knock out Senad Gashi.
Yeah, it's easy to keep him at distance when the boys are running away.
I know, man. I mean, it's just, I think he was afraid to get hurt or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you think he's in the wrong profession? Because he seemed to be very unwilling to fight. It's what are you doing?
I don't know. I think he was afraid of Derek Chisora's power.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. Now, Kelly versus Ranowski. Josh Kelly looked good. He looked real good.
Do you think he's a bit showboaty?
Man, the boy fucking loves himself. I'm surprised he doesn't have a poster of Josh Kelly on his own wall.
I think he's going to get a tattoo of Josh Kelly on Josh Kelly.
Yeah, totally. A tattoo of Josh Kelly looking in a mirror at Josh Kelly.
Josh Kelly admiringly, glancingly at Josh Kelly.
Yeah. He's the type of person that wanks off to pictures of himself.
Is that a type of person? Do you get that person?
Yeah, his name's Josh Kelly.
He's a pretty boy after all.
Yeah, his name is Pretty Boy, isn't it? But
he's not going to be pretty for long if he keeps showboating that when he gets against some proper high level fighters, because they're going to sort of smash his face up a little bit.
They will properly rearrange his face if he keeps doing that kind of shit. I think he looked very good. I think the whole purpose for him though was to look good. But in all honesty, he threw his toys out the pram. At the end, because in the post-match interview, they were talking about, well, who do you want to fight next, blah 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 blah, and Eddie Hearn was not up for sending him straight for like a title shot. He was like,
Right.
you know, it's important for guys at this level to spend more time like domestically, win some domestic belts, then go for a European, because we've had too many like good up and coming contenders going and reaching like the European level a bit too fast and like
unraveling a la Ritson.
Yeah, a la Ritson. And I think like in Eddie Hearn's mind, he wants to kind of protect him, but I think Josh Kelly got a bit pissed off that he's not saying like, oh yeah, we'll step him up to European next.
It's interesting. You know, he's trained by Adam Booth, and his fighters have a kind of like high octane, kind of flashy style. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's obviously got like lightning fast reactions, and he's like throwing punches from lovely angles and stuff. But it's just, I don't know. He presents himself there to be hit too much, and he did get caught a few times. And you think, well, there's no, you know, I'm not sure he's gaining an awful lot by allowing that to happen. You know, but I'm not sure whatever advantages he gets offset the disadvantage of being easy to punch in the face on occasion. Do you know what I mean? It seems like a kind of odd approach. And
we've got to remember as well, like, you know, the welterweight division is a tough division to be fighting at. And if you're if you're stepped up too quickly, you're gonna get your ass fucking handed to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's baby steps, is it? He's not gonna. But I mean, I don't know. You think that the Adam Booth's always like is like he's the most talented fighter I've ever worked with, and he's really like bigging him up. But you think he would be saying a little bit like, you know, can you try and, you know, stop getting hit quite so much, like unnecessarily, because it's going to come back and haunt you, if not now, then down the line. But I mean, he looks like he's got all the moves. Certainly, he looks good, flashy.
Yeah.
Joe Cordina versus
Andy Townend,
ex Republic of Ireland midfielder Andy Townend.
Andy Townend. Oh man, you know what? Like, I would say that actually, like, Cordina looked pretty good. I was pretty impressed with his fighting abilities. Actually, I liked him. I was very impressed with him.
I liked him a lot. I think he did everything well. He's more like, obviously more like kind of textbook than Kelly, but he looks to me like he can do everything. Yeah. The only thing that it would seem that maybe he doesn't have is he's not like a massive power puncher, but he looks like hard to hit. His movement looks really good. He's throwing all sorts of different punches, really nice combinations. I thought he looked super good, but just whether he can deal with guys with more punch resistance. But I was really impressed with him. I think he's a really easy on the eye fighter.
Yeah, I mean, I think he is definitely going to like have to maybe look at how he throws his punches in order to like maybe have a bit more knockout power just for marketability. But you know, and it's a tough division even in like the British level. You know, you've got like Luke Campbell in there, O'Hara Davies. You know, you've got good fighters, actually. Probably doesn't need to worry too much about Anthony Corolla anymore, but it is what it is. Right, well, should we move on to what the F are the fights this weekend?
Friday night, big card. From California. It's on Sky Sports and obviously DAZN in the States. I think this could be one of the best fights of the year. Srisaket Sor Rungvisai versus Estrada. Two of the very best pound for pound going at it. Rematch that Rungvisai won the first time around. Super flyweight fighting at its best. It's going to be a barnstormer, Ryan. Absolute barnstormer. 5 a.m. in the UK time.
Well worth getting up for Saturday morning at 5 a.m.
Probably is, you know. I would say it is.
You know, I reckon though as well, by the way, that it will be like on the Sky Boxing YouTube channel pretty soon after the fight, like in full, because they seem to be doing that within like a day, putting all the stuff up in full. So
and then you can like watch it properly in like good quality with like non-Russian commentary and stuff like that.
yeah, shit like that. Yeah, not that we would encourage anyone to watch any illegal streams.
No.
Pay for them streams.
No, well, we can only watch what's put up, can't we?
Exactly.
The last time they fought, Estrada lost by a majority decision. And when was that? About just over a year ago. Mm-hmm. But he is considered one of the best pound for pound fighters, as well as obviously Rungvisai being a top 10 pound for pounder. So this is really this is like almost as high level of fight as you can get made. Mm-hmm. It's that good. Yeah. And Rungvisai is a come forward fighter, so it's gonna be fun. These guys are gonna go some. So apparently 5:00 a.m. for the ring walks. But yeah, definitely watch it. Oh, there's a good undercard on it. Daniel Roman versus TJ Doney for the super bantamweight. 3rd v 4th, according to our friends at the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board, in terms of being the bestest of super bantamweight. 3rd v 4th, so a super high level fight there as well. Scott Quiggs also on the card, as is Jesse Vargas. Really nice card, really nice headliner, really nice support. Just watch it. Yeah. But probably not going to stay up all night to watch it.
No.
If you do, you could pick worse cards to do it with.
Yeah, exactly. It's well worth it. Now, Saturday 27th, on DAZN and Sky Sports, there's been some last minute shit. So the World Boxing Super Series is now it's now all being shown on Sky. I think they have done a deal with Eddie Hearn because Eddie Hearn needs to like pack the channel with fights, and he doesn't have enough fights to pack it with. So he's gone, yeah, we'll do World Boxing Super Series. So it's the end of the YouTube days, which is a shame.
It is a shame.
It is a shame. I imagine they'll put them all up on YouTube, though, to get more views. Prograis versus Relic is going to be... so, super lightweight. Remember, we need to remember who wins this. It's very important, because whoever wins this will be fighting Josh Taylor next. Hopefully.
Presumptuous.
In Glasgow in the final.
There we go.
Prograis, I mean, I think he is dangerous, man. He is a dangerous fighter. But it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Nice. Prograis just looks like a kind of Rolls Royce fighter to me. He looks like he's making everything look very easy. I think him versus Taylor is the final that everyone is thinking will happen and everyone wants to see, and that would be a real like high level encounter.
Yeah, totally.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Relic is a high level fighter in his own right, so that will be a really nice fight.
Yeah, and right, so breaking news, boys and girls. Tete is out of the World Boxing Super Series. He has had to withdraw after a shoulder injury. So, Stefan Young is stepping in. He is the WBA number 5 contender. So he was the reserve that was supposed to be fighting if anybody pulled out, but he'll be fighting Nonito Donaire.
Tough Tetes, Ryan.
Whoa! This will be interesting because we all want to know who's going to be fighting against Inoue in the final. Basically,
well, it's like Donaire's had obviously the fortune of Burnett getting stopped injured in the quarterfinal, and then his high level opponent Tete being withdrawn before the fight. So he's just getting all of the breaks. But I think if things happen as we expect, his crows might come home to roost in the final. He ends up with With a new, I don't know. We'll see. We're getting ahead of ourselves yet again, Ryan. But yeah,
I know.
You have to be careful what you wish for. If you wish for to spend some time in a boxing ring with Naoya Inoue, if that's what you wish for, you be careful now.
You be very careful.
Because it might only be 13 seconds that you laugh.
If you're lucky. Right, and we also have a BT Sport card on Saturday with everybody's favourite Dubois.
Just out of interest, the person he's fighting, Richard Lartey, is 6'5" and has spent he's Ghanaian, and he spent most of his time fighting in our favourite African city, Accra, primarily in like gymnasiums and town halls.
Do you know what? Right, I would put a bet on Lartey. I'm gonna do it actually. Right, I am going to put a bet on Lartey to win the fight.
Well, shop around. If you shop around the different bookies, I think you will get very favourable odds for your bet.
Because from what we know about the fighters that come from Accra, they are good. Right? We've done the research. We've done heavy research into this.
We have, but this guy has fought like no one of note, and he's fought mainly in like school gymnasiums.
Look, right, I trust our research, okay? You know, like, the way to get over on a bookie is you find out information that they wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm. Like when the quarterback's on coke or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I reckon they don't know about how good boxers from, like, that small region outside of Accra is, right? They just don't know about it. No one would know about it unless they listen to this podcast.
You think he's the Leicester City of boxing?
Look, I know nothing about Richard Lartey, but I have belief in him simply because he's from Accra.
Right, okay. Hold on, right. Live exercise. I love it when we do this. I love it. This makes such good listening. Dubois versus Lartey odds. Here we are.
So I've got 12-1. 12-1 on Lartey to win.
That's very poor odds. You should be able to get, like, we'll do a bit of searching for you, right? So, anyway, well, I like your enthusiasm for the Ghanaian.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm gonna put some cash on this, right? Because I believe in him.
You believe in the Accra magic. Right, good. Anyway, that's a mismatch, but Brian's not acknowledging it as such. And there's various other fights in the undercard. It doesn't get me particularly excited. Anyway, should we move on?
Let's move on to everybody's favourite part of the podcast. What the F went wrong last week?
Do you remember last week we spoke about, I said that the only person who I thought would be pronouncing Christina Hammer's name correctly was Hannah Rankin, and it would be Hamer.
Yes.
Well, I can't find anything to say whether that's true or not, so I don't really know what I'm talking about. But what is interesting is there's obviously quite a well-known German fighter who's we've talked about at various points about being a heavyweight gamekeeper, Christian Hammer.
Yes.
Right? Which is obviously a very similar name to Christina Hammer. Now, they're not at all related, right? But Christian Hammer is of Romanian origin, and he has changed his name. His birth name is not Hamer; it's a different name. Christina Hammer or Hamer was born in Pakistan. Pakistan? She wasn't born in Pakistan. Kazakhstan. And I can't find anything to say if her birth name has changed, but I'm very much willing to bet that her birth name, being born in Kazakhstan to Kazakhstani parents, was not Christina Hammer or Christina Hamer, and it's actually that her name's been changed as well. Yeah. Therefore, it's kind of like, are we anglicising an adopted German name from a Kazakhstani woman, or not? It's getting quite confusing at that point. But anyway, she's Christina. She's from Kazakhstan, and I'm pretty sure she wouldn't have been called Christina from Kazakhstan. So I'm pretty sure her whole name
are you trying to, in a very roundabout way, tell me that the umlaut that I put on her name specifically when I wrote it all up for the description of that podcast was totally redundant.
I think so. I think I spent like 10 minutes researching umlaut just to talk about this. And I did not get a lot of joy with it, I tell you.
Oh!
So anyway, if anyone likes to talk more about, the original name or the kind of, if there's been any name changes for Christina Hamer from Kazakhstan, then please let us know. But it's very sparse on the ground. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. On that note, one of the things we talked about was briefly about who the best women boxers are. And actually, if you put in pound for pound women's, you get basically nothing come back on the internet. There's very few people that have decided to kind of to categorize it definitively. I wonder whether this could be a task, although I'm sure they would love to think of us giving them more work, for the Transnational Boxing Rankings Board, whether they would be the ones to step into the breach and publish a pound for pound women's list.
Maybe. I think like it would be some work, but like. I think it's well worth it
They could start off just doing a top 10.
Yeah, top 10.
As in a top 10 pound for pound. Don't do for every division, but because it's very difficult, and I struggle to find anything really at all. They said the Ring magazine had a women's pound for pound list, but like you go on their website and I can find no reference to it whatsoever.
Yeah, it'll all just be Golden Boy fighters anyway.
Well, true. I know, but even a sort of ostensible list, they don't seem to produce, even though there seems to be some link to it, but it doesn't exist. Anyway, on that note, Katie Taylor's upcoming fight on 1st of June, versus Delphine Persoon. Persoon has got one of the best records, obviously, aside from the three that we've talked about. So I think whatever way you cut it, that's obviously a pretty high level fight. Although Taylor goes in as a heavy favourite. Yeah,
and it was on the undercard of the Miller Joshua fight. Mm-hmm. Like now that's going to be an absolute fucking dog shit fight. Whoever he fights, do they make it the fucking main event, the main attraction?
It would be a move and a half, would it? What a kind of what a statement of intent for women's boxing. You go, do you know what? You're fucking around, boys, and you make that the headline event. Why not?
Yeah, why the fuck not, man? Because to be honest, Katie Taylor's got such a big following in New York. I reckon she'd sell out Madison Square Garden.
Well, it'll be sold out. They'll sell it out anyway, because I don't think people really care the sequencing for attendance. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But just put that as the last fight, and then like make all the attention on it. Everyone's going to be have the attention on like Joshua's fight as well. Anyway, I don't think it's going to. What impact would it have on like pay-per-view, on ticket sales if you switch the fights around? But it's like by doing it, you're creating like an enormous buzz about that fight, about the Taylor fight, and you're saying, look how seriously we're taking women's boxing. I don't see what you lose. It seems to me like it would be all upside. If someone can like come up with a reason why this is a really stupid idea, then let us know. But otherwise,
yeah, fuck it.
What a move it would be.
Of course.
I also, on a slightly different note, I said Crawford at one point when I was talking about how brave Khan is in terms of fighting people that can knock him down. Oh, right, okay. So I was talking about how you can't criticize Khan for not being brave, but that was obviously last week, and this week it's a different story entirely.
Right, well, let's move on to random news because we've got quite a lot to get through. Obviously, the big story this week is actually Jarrell Miller seems to have no blood in his drug stream.
He's kind of adopted a go hard or go home approach to his performance enhancing, isn't he?
Right. I was looking into this shit, by the way, right? So he failed 3 drugs tests, okay? one for HGH, one for EPO, and then one for a SARM called Cardanine, also called Enderol. But he's taking all this shit, right? You know you are getting drugs tested, okay?
I know.
Now, HGH, after 2012, the 2012 games, is much easier to detect. It used to be really hard to detect, and that's why all the powerlifters and weightlifters used to take it, because you naturally have HGH in your system anyway.
Okay.
And it's harder to detect. But now, they actually detect, like, they're able to detect the difference between your like naturally produced HGH and the synthetic stuff.
Right.
So now it's much easier to detect, and like it stays in your system for like at least 48 hours after your last dosage. EPO, now they like we all know that they know how to test for EPO now, thanks to Lance Armstrong and his friends. Right?
That's some old school shit right there.
And the last one, the SARM, Cardanine, it stays in your system for 24 hours, right? So you are taking huge risks taking this shit and thinking I'm going to get away with it when you know the whole thing is going to be VADA tested. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Do you think he thought he had like a cover that somehow didn't work? Like, do you think he had like a mole or something that was going to tell him when he was going to get tested, or ensure his testing was done at a point where he wasn't going to get caught? Like, do you think something went wrong in the ruse? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he thought he'd somehow found a workaround where he could take this shit and get away with it, but actually it fell apart somehow. I wonder if it was something like that, because otherwise it's just like, why would you take all this shit if you just thought you were going to get caught? Then like there's no point taking it because you're losing so much money.
Yeah, and like credibility as well. I mean, you know, I think it's unless he's fighting Luis Ortiz, it's going to be very hard to match up someone else. You know, because he's got such a dirty name. Because like, it's not just like he was doping a little bit. He was heavy on it. You know, it failed for 3 different things in 3 separate tests. It's a fucking joke. You know,
the last one, I can't remember. What did you say the name of it was?
Cardanine.
Right.
Yeah.
I had it down as GW1516, rather snappy. But that one apparently is for endurance boosting or for fat loss. But I actually think he got a faulty sample of that, and he should get his money back on that one.
Well, do you think it was because he wanted to try and take AJ into the later rounds?
He probably thought that's his only chance. You know, if he can kind of make it just a sort of like Battle of Wills or like kind of last man standing kind of thing. But I mean, I would have just taken the beating and taken the money. It's like $5 or something million. All you have to do is, I know it's not all you have to do. I'm not undermining how difficult it is, but you know, if you're gonna get beat, just you know get beat and take $5 million, and you're set for life.
Exactly. You know.
So, if you can't win, you can't win. But like, take the money.
Well,
take like, a pounding, take the money.
Take a pound and take a money, and like, you know, we've talked about the problem with drugs in boxing before, and you know, I was looking at the Transnational Boxing Rankings top 10 heavyweights, okay, thinking about who can Joshua fight again. Now look, in this top 10, we've got number 2 Tyson Fury, banned for drugs. Number 4 Dillian White, banned for drugs. Number 5 Luis Ortiz, banned for drugs. Number 6 Alexander Povetkin, banned for drugs. Now we've got Gerald Miller, number 7, banned for drugs. So you've got only left, you've got Deontay Wilder, Pulev, Parker, and Kaunaki are the only ones in there that haven't been banned for drugs.
Joshua, obviously, yeah. It's ridiculous, is it?
50% of the top 10 have served some sort of drugs ban.
It was particularly funny. There were a few things that came out of this that I thought were hilarious. There was in the early stages, some of the potential step-in opponents that were banded about was Manuel Char.
Oh, everybody's favourite. Yeah.
Banned for drugs. There was Luis Ortiz, who'd been banned for drugs, and there was Dillian White banned for drugs. So it's like, we're going to replace this guy who's a drugs cheat with one of these three guys who have been drugs cheats and now are no longer, or you know, like, they're not drugs cheats anymore, obviously. It's ridiculous.
You know, but I think it's a real issue and headache for Eddie Hearn. Who do you put him up against? Because who's going to have the draw?
Well, so the three, apparently the three that are under the most consideration now are our old friend who we've talked about at various points, Michael Hunter. Mm-hmm. He's an American. So he is, seen to be having something of a draw. Andy Ruiz, who just fought at the weekend there, is he kind of a Mexican American? Am I right in saying? He lost a very narrowed points decision to Joseph Parker when Parker won his belt a couple of years ago. He's very unexciting, and Manuel Char, who is beyond unexciting, except if you go out for dinner with him, because he might get killed. I think Hunter's the best boxer, but he's undersized for a heavyweight. 6'2" and doesn't bang that hard, but you know, he's credible. He's only defeat is a points loss to Usyk at cruiserweight because he's moved up from cruiser. I think he's probably the most interesting of the three, but I don't think any of them would pose any problems for AJ. I think they're sort of even more kind of run of the mill than Miller was. So yeah. I think my guess would be it would be Hunter. Hunter's making all the right noises. Ortiz said he was getting like lowballed with an offer, but to be honest, I wouldn't have fought Ortiz. Ortiz I'd have said is slightly higher like risk than reward, but apparently Joshua wanted him, but they gave him a lowball offer, but they say no, we gave him a bunch of money, he didn't want to fight, blah blah blah. Whatever way, it's not Ortiz. So Hunter, Ruiz, or Char are your three front runners at the moment. Although it might all change by next week. Who knows?
Right. What else have we got in news?
Mikey Garcia.
Yeah, Mikey Garcia.
The chat is that Mikey Garcia will be campaigning at super lightweight and not going back down to lightweight. So that means probably at least immediately no fight with Loma.
Yeah.
Which is the fight that everyone wanted. And it means also that I know we're trying to make a little bit of a conscious effort to talk about specific belts less, but it is relevant to the fights getting made. So he confirms that he's competing at super lightweight. His lightweight belt becomes vacant.
Yep.
He becomes champion emeritus. And that means if he goes down in the future, he would get a title shot, but the belt now becomes vacant. Luke Campbell is the mandatory for this belt.
Are you telling me that we are going to have a fight in the UK with Loma?
We don't know. So he's not ranked by them because he's another belt holder. But potentially it might be possible if the money was right and everyone was agreeable that could be the fight, and that maybe would be in the UK. Otherwise, the second ranked within that organisation who would fight Luke Campbell is Zaur Abdullayev, which is not very exciting. Or more exciting, from a kind of commercial point of view at least, would be the next couple of ranked fighters would be either super hot prospect Devin Haney, or from earlier in the podcast, your boy Teofimo Lopez.
I mean, he's a dangerous one to take on board, like.
So he might fancy a shot. Him or Haney might fancy a shot against Campbell, but interesting. But ideally, yes, Manchester 2.0, Campbell Loma.
We're coming for you.
So we'll see.
And you can finally get that refund on your fucking Taco Bell.
No, they didn't. No, I've got my paperwork.
Oh yeah.
But it's for Glasgow, so yeah, I have in my wallet a letter, a printout of an email which entitles me to quite the feast from Taco Bell as way of compensation for double charging me for a burrito.
Now, recent news. This is breaking. Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce have agreed a deal for a British title fight.
Very interesting.
I think that this will be, if anything, a fight that goes to points, because they're both going to pad each other out for ages.
You're not going with the kind of the knockout stoppages kind of approach. You think this is going to be a tippy-tappy affair?
Tippy-tappy, like, just like two guys tickling each other for 12 rounds. Like, you know.
It's very interesting, though. I would be curious to know about the mentality for both fighters in terms of taking this, because you think this seems like, for both of them, a relatively large in terms of career risk, in terms of like career progression or career next step risks. I don't know. It seems an odd one. So there's quite a lot at stake, and it was a fight that neither of them had to take, really. So yeah. I'm quite impressed. Joyce will go into that with new trainer Adam Booth.
Yeah, could be interesting. Like,
Abel Sanchez has decided he doesn't want any fighters anymore, so he's throwing them all away this week.
Wow.
He's jettisoned, or Joyce has jettisoned him, whichever way you want to put it, and also Triple G, in apparently quite acrimonious circumstances, has split from Sanchez as well.
Yeah. It's a shame.
So that the Dubois Joyce fight is rumored to be July. It's going to take place, but just out of interest, we spoke about like Josh Kelly being an Adam Booth trained fighter, and Joe Joyce is about as un-Adam Booth stylistically a fighter as you can imagine.
Yeah, maybe that's why he wants to like change it up.
He's gone to him. He's like, "Can you make me stylish, please? Can you make me like Josh Kelly? I want to be like Josh Kelly.
I want to be like Josh Kelly."
So I don't know how that'll work, but apparently, yeah, new trainer fighting in July. It's exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Very exciting. Cool. Well, Andy, on that note, do you want to tell me what grinds your gears this week?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Well, I was thinking about this, and then there's one slight grinds my gears which I've talked about, which is the fact that there doesn't seem to be any proper recording about a women's pound for pound list. But I'll leave that at that and just say this should be like, again, to do with the profile, and it should be like something that's, you shouldn't search for it in Google and return nothing. That's ridiculous. It should be people that are monitoring and recording, etc. But what I'll say is, as it kind of floats my boat instead, is actually what we just mentioned, the Joyce Dubois fight, and I think at various points we've been fairly scathing about both of them. But that is still a fight. They're both unbeaten fighters who are like highly touted, and they are both taking what I think is reasonably described as an unnecessary risk by taking that fight, in terms of where they could get without required to take a fight that will be at least have a reasonable degree of danger for both of them. So I think they should be commended for taking the fight, and I think it'll be interesting one to watch. And I think the idea about unbeaten fighters, fights getting made before they get to where they're challenging each other before they get to world level is a kind of floats my boat for me, and I hope there's lots more of it, and let's lose the stigma of the preservation of the O. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we saw that with like the Fowler Fitzgerald fight. Like that was fucking shit. That was such a good fight. Yeah. And like, Fowler will come back and I don't think he'll lose that much from it, and we might have a shit hot rematch or whatever, like from it. So I say like keep those sorts of things going.
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was good to see, and plenty more of them, please. So that would be my kind of my floats my boat this week. So Ryan, what's it for you this week? What's grinding your gears?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Right. I'm going to tell you what grinds my gears, Andy. And
Please.
It's mismatches and A-side, B-side fights.
Says the guy that's just bet his house on Larty.
Because I know something the bookies don't. Right?
You know that's a mismatch. Here, that'll scupper the Dubois Joyce fight, by the way.
Yeah.
If he gets bowled out by the Ghanaian.
Fucking too right, man. Too right.
Sorry. Go on. Mismatches, A-side, B-side. Go on.
I'm just like, I am sick of seeing A-side, B-side fights. They are not exciting at all. You always know who's going to win. Pretty much. The number of upsets, I think maybe this is a bit of research for us to do. But if we look at the number of A-side, B-side fights and how many upsets there are, there'll be fuck all. And it means that when you have headline fights and they're A-side, B-side, it just becomes a bit boring because you're like, well, how many rounds is it going to take for X to win? The Khan Crawford fight was such an A-side, B-side fight. You knew from the fucking get-go that there was no way that Khan was going to win because he hasn't been world level for years and years and years. He's just a big name, but he's definitely a B-side. And I think it means that it devalues boxing.
I think especially pay-per-views should be they shouldn't be massive mismatches. That's kind of like robbing people, is it?
Totally, and especially on with the undercards as well. You're finding now it's like A side, B side. That's why that Fowler Fitzgerald fight was so good, because they were both at the similar level, and you couldn't really call it. It was tough to call. Although Fowler was I think he was a strong favorite with the bookies.
He was a favorite, yeah.
He was a favorite with the bookies, but you couldn't necessarily call it, and that made it exciting. And that's what's exciting about watching a boxing match is who is going to win this fight out of these two guys. But if it's already kind of predisposed because actually one of the competitors is a much poorer level of fighter, then it removes any of the magic that happens on the night.
I agree. Totally agree. Yeah, yeah. It's sort of like makes you how am I trying to say? It makes it kind of discourages you from watching or paying interest if it's all kind of like you say predetermined almost. It's what's the point?
And I kind of think boxing fans are slightly to blame because they become almost tribes behind well-known boxers, and so if their favorite boxer is fighting a pish fighter, they're so happy to see their fighter fight that actually they don't really care who they're fighting. So Manny Pacquiao is a great example of this. He is now fighting shit fighters, but people still want to watch him because he's Manny Pacquiao. Which is ridiculous.
Well, I think for some, I don't know. Well, I think I'll reserve judgment in terms of the fight that's yet to be confirmed, Thurman, because Thurman was an elite level fighter. But whether he is now based on his last performance, yeah. But I know what you mean. When he was fighting like Jeff Horn or a very aged Matisse. Yeah, I agree. Stuff like that. Yeah, and Browne as well. Yeah, fair enough.
And Browne, everyone's favorite idiot. And I just think that it kind of removes that magic, and I think that it falls on the boxers themselves to want to fight strong opposition.
Yeah, agree. But the point you make makes all the more reason for watching the Rungvisai Estrada fight on Friday into Saturday, because that's almost a coin toss fight. It's almost a 50-50. Rungvisai is a slight favourite, but it's like it's two elite level fighters, world class pound for pound, and also it's very unpredictable as to actually who's going to come out on top of that one. So that's really like the pinnacle of what you could ask for. Do you see, in terms of what you want from a boxing match? You want the highest level practitioners, and you want the outcome to be really uncertain. And that fight has those things in spades.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's see more decent fights on the agenda. Thank you. That's me.
Beautiful.
Now, I just want to do a little bit of listener corner this week, because actually, I want to mention probably one of the best comments we've ever had on the Facebook page. So when we shared
high praise indeed.
When we shared the news that Gerald Miller had failed his drugs test, the first drugs test, we had a comment from Neil Austin. Been going round Canelo's for those barbecues again. Should have known it was sus when Fury turned up with the boar steaks.
Nice.
Fucking he won the page. He won the page, right? So more like that, please, guys. That was fucking cracking. Please hit us with some of your best comments, because they're what keep me going, right? They're what keep me going.
In the wee small hours.
In the wee small hours when I'm hunched over a computer. They're what keep me going.
Was your comment that it was crackling?
It was cracking.
Was it? I thought you said crackling.
No, it's Oh! Fucking hell, man. All right, that's enough for tonight. Like, fucking hell, Jesus. Right, guys. Well, that is us for What the F is the Boxing News. We'll be back soon with a nice deep dive for you. But with that in mind, it's goodbye from me, Ryan.
And goodbye from me, Andrew.